Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be a video all about how Jon Snow is related to the White Walkers and the Night King on the TV show. So just careful for spoilers for everything that's happened on the show so far. There are a couple key ideas in understanding the differences between the show and the books. The Night King on the TV show is a little bit different from the character in the books, so I'll try to explain those backstories a little bit as well. There is a new round of the Game of Thrones giveaway. It's for one of the enhanced editions of the books. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video. Be sure to click that bell to enable alerts so that you don't miss anything. A lot of you have asked about the history of the Night King on the TV show because a lot of book readers have known about the Night King from Old Nan's tales for a long time. So a lot of the lore of Game of Thrones is told orally through other characters like Old Nan that tell legends of people like the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch who became the first Night's King. The legend as Old Nan tells it is that that Lord Commander was a Stark of Winterfell, brother to the King of Winter at the time. Remember how the TV show compresses things though, so you have to imagine that there have been many White Walkers that have been sacrificed as children. In the books, there have also probably been many Night Kings to have taken up the mantle of leader of the White Walkers. There has to be someone to create other White Walkers, although they haven't implied any real organizational structure yet. So this 13th Lord Commander that Nan says was the first Night's King was probably just at that time the newest leader of the White Walkers, but there was also probably one to precede him. The way they explain the tale is actually pretty fantastic. They make it sound like not long after the creation of the Wall, the 13th Lord Commander, this mythical Stark, fell in love with a woman north of the Wall with skin as white as the moon and eyes like blue stars. So she herself may have been a White Walker. The way they describe them in the books as having this otherworldly beauty. The TV show has made them pretty ugly and fearsome, so it's a lot more plausible that someone would fall in love with a beautiful looking White Walker rather than someone that looked like this. When they consummated their relationship, he himself became a White Walker. They returned to the Night Fort, which is not Castle Black, it's one of the other forts along the Wall. They ruled there for 13 years till an alliance of Brandon the Breaker, one of the further kings of winter, Yoramun, king beyond the Wall at the time, joined forces to defeat him. So presumably after that, if you believe the legend in what George R. R. Martin has told us through Old Nan's tales, after that Night's King died, another leader of the White Walkers was selected and created. So there's this nice symmetry with the way there are Lord Commanders of the Night's Watch. When one dies, another one is anointed. The same thing happening with the White Walkers as well. But the difference in the TV show is that there's only been this one Night King. They imply that he was the one that we saw in the flashback that we still see today. The way Bran refers to him is that it's the same person this whole time, and he's lived for some odd 1,000 years. Now, this is the time of the First Men when there were still kings of winter. Like, you could call Jon Snow King of Winter, King in the North, but you have to remember that before the Andals invaded, which was about 6,000 years ago in the books, the First Men reigned. There were still kings in different regions. So you have people like Lan the Clever, who started House Lannister. You have Brandon the Builder, who helped build the Wall, also found House Stark during the Age of Heroes. So we're talking upwards of 10,000 years ago in the books. The TV show has compressed that timeline so that it was about 1,000 years ago. So the way George R. R. Martin tells it is that his mythical Night's King is a legendary figure that's no more likely to have survived to present day than Lan the Clever or Brandon the Builder. So I know there are a lot of conspiracy theorists that are like, what if Bran is Brandon the Builder because of his time traveling abilities? Everything that George R. R. Martin has implied is that those mythical ancient figures really did exist thousands of years ago, and as powerful as Bran's magic is, there's no big twist beyond the stuff that you've seen so far. I mean, there are some powers that he has that you haven't seen, but it's not like he went back to help build the Wall. The TV show changes a lot of things. They could take a few liberties with that. They imply that people in the past, like young Ned Stark at the Tower of Joy, can hear when Bran calls out, but they're purposefully very ambiguous about that so that they never have to answer that question outright. But even though TV show Night King is different from George R. R. Martin's Night's King, The Leaf character explains to Bran how they created the White Walkers after he has the vision of the First Men being turned into the Night King. She explains that they had to create something to get rid of the First Men. It was about 12,000 years ago after the First Men invaded Westeros. They had this big war with the current inhabitants, the Children of the Forest, who lived way further south than they do now. They signed a pact with the First Men on the Isle of Faces to end the war, which is actually this island right here. It's one of the few places left in the south that has weirwoods. That's why they call it the Isle of Faces, because of the faces on the weirwoods. All of House Stark descends from the First Men, so it makes sense that someone from the north up near this location here, this is in the very far north where Bran is seeing this tree, probably not too far from the Bloodraven's tree. Like you remember, the Night King made that ornate formation with all the heads of the dead horses and the men near the fist of the First Men. So a lot of White Walker, Children of the Forest history is localized to the north because that's where they went after the Pact of the First Men. So it makes sense on a practical level that the Starks share blood with this First Men who became the Night King of the TV show, but also from a thematic perspective where you have him tied to Jon Snow, who is the Song of Ice and Fire himself. The whole idea is about the narrative of balance, so wouldn't it be that much more meaningful if the thing that you were fighting, the evil thing, shared some blood with you, shared some common genetic material? So it makes sense that the Starks share DNA with this Night King. Now, when you talk about the ancient 13th Lord's Commander, Night King, even if Old Nan is embellishing about the dates, about how big figures were, and about how events went down, there are still a lot of Starks going back thousands of years that joined the Night's Watch. There were others that previously became Lord's Commander. When Jon Snow is named Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, he is almost the 1000th Lord Commander. So I would choose to believe Old Nan, even though a lot of legends do get embellished. There is common DNA between this Night King, even some of the White Walkers, which are actually mostly Craster's sons on the TV show right now. It's just because a lot of the surviving DNA of the First Men lives on in the peoples of the north. Most of the people south of the Wall descend from the Andals, although there was the war between the Andals and the First Men, so there was likely some intermarrying between those peoples. But for the most part, the blood of the First Men, as you would call it, lives on in the people of the north, as well as the free folk north of the Wall, and then the people way further than that, the Thens, that also share the blood of the First Men. So Craster, free folk, just shares blood of the First Men, shares some DNA in common with the Starks of Winterfell. So that means that the White Walkers here are all related to Jon Snow in some way. King's blood is something different though. It's important to Melisandre. There might also be importance to the creation of new Night Kings. And until George R. R. Martin tells us otherwise, you have to assume that the Night King is created in the same way that we saw it happen on the TV show. Dragonglass plunged into the heart of a First Men. Now, they don't explain whether or not the blood of the First Men is important in this, but there's some more magical components that they haven't explained yet. Like if you stab someone with a dragonglass dagger in the heart, they would probably just die. So there's a whole bunch of magic that the TV show has not explained yet. Like, we don't fully understand what's going on with the Red God. We just know about the things that Melisandre has been able to do, the other things that the Red Priests in the books have been able to do. This is all stuff that George R. R. Martin will spell out in much greater detail in the books. So if you're new to the books, that's why it's really important to read those things. But don't worry, that's also what I make videos for, is to explain this really cool stuff. But hopefully that explains a little about why it's important that the Starks share some DNA with this Night King on the TV show. Just because of the proximity effect of when he was created and when the First Men settled in that area and created House Stark and when the wall was built. Please leave all your requests for future Game of Thrones videos in the comments below. I'll have another one posting later this week. I'll be updating my video schedule on the About page of my YouTube channel. Congratulations to the new Game of Thrones giveaway winner, Seth Nicholson. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. There was a new round that started in this video. I'll just announce the winner the next time I post a Game of Thrones video. Tonight there'll be some new Justice League Aquaman behind the scenes stuff posting. While you guys wait for that to post, you can click here to learn about the brand new Targaryen book that George R. R. Martin is publishing at the end of the year, and you can click here for my Arya Stark Season 7 predictions. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you in the next video.